We're going to be with you in just a moment. Sorry, I was a minute late there. I hate when that happens. I'll explain in a moment. We're just getting everything all set up, so please bear with me. Please bear with me as we try and get everything set up. Bear with me. We had the entire system crashed. Entire system crashed just before the show. So I am trying desperately, bear with me, to bring everything back up. There you go. You can see me right now. We're going to be starting in just 1 second. But as I said, the entire system crashed just before we went live, and so I am trying to bring everything back up so I can talk intelligently with you about the issues that just happened. It is the beginning of the year. It's 2024. It's the first episode of the year, and of course, it always starts with something interesting. I mean, it's kind of like our resolutions, New Year's resolution, where you say, okay, I'm going to, you went out and you got a gym membership, but here it is, it's January 7th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you still haven't been to the gym yet. You said you were going to cut back on all those streaming services that you've been getting. I mean, you've got Paramount, and you're looking forward to Twisted Metal 2. You've got Disney Plus, and you're looking forward to Echo, the series. Really? But you said you were going to cut all of them out, but you just haven't done that yet. It's the same thing here. I promised myself that as soon as I can afford to, I'm going to get some new computer screens. I'm going to get a new computer, get someone to look all of this over so that I can make sure everything is up to date. And, well, it hasn't happened yet. Such is the way life goes. So I can appreciate and understand that. So we should be up on YouTube 100% right now. I'm also going to check very quickly just to make sure that we are up 100% on, we should be up on Rumble right now. So bear with me as I just check to make sure that that is live. Yep, we're live. Okay. And Dal says, afternoon. Good afternoon, Dal. Good to have you with us. Okay. So now I can actually see everybody, and Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone's starting off with a good new year. YouTube, D Live. Okay, we're up on all of the channels, and that's the important thing. I wanted to make sure we get there. So thank you for your patience with me, folks, as we get started up here to try and present you with so much of what's going on. And unlike your resolution to go to the gym, unlike your resolution of, cutting down on the streaming services that you pay for, and you are getting horrible programming, no, we don't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything to join us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and to have a conversation. Kind of like Dow, too. You can text, you can speak with us. We're happy to have that conversation about all the things that matter, all the things that are going to affect your life, the things that are going to take money out of your pocket, food out of your mouth, deny your kids education. That's what we're talking about. We've been doing it now 6 seasons. This is episode 1, actually 7 years to be exact, but this is season 6, episode 1, and we're here live with you. Renee Bugaboo, hello and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us here. For those who have never been here with us before, Renee, we do long-form political commentary and we look at everything in the issues. And we have this conversation whether the internet overlords like it or not, because we believe in the freedom of speech. We believe in your First Amendment rights. It's not just an American right. It is something for everyone in the world, because politics affects everyone in the world. Whether you pay attention to politics or not, politics is always paying attention to you. And so we do ask people, if you can, like, share, subscribe. It's the only thing we ask for. Just help us to beat the algorithm and to reach more people, to hear more voices from around the world. That's all we ask for, and we hope you will enjoy that. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. Hello, Mike Bowie. What, looting stories? There's a lot of stories going on, but what I wanted to start with, normally we start with the international, we get into the national issues. It's a little bit of a mix here at the beginning of the year. It's the first week, and you would say, well, Mike, what news could be going on? It's the new year. Most people were off of work. Most governments were shut down for a couple of days. What could be really going on? Well, we're going to get into that a little bit. As I mentioned, by the way, just to let me know, folks, is the sound volume better today than it has been in the past? We made a couple of changes here, and so we're hoping that you can hear us a little bit better. Please let me know if you can. But and for those who aren't familiar, I work off of basically one screen that I can actually see. So bear with me as I bring this up. But we'll be trying to give you links to everything, and after the show, links to everything we've discussed will be available for you. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is, there we go. Let me show you. Here's a problem with 2024. Because we are seeing an attack. Before we get into what's happening internationally, before we get into what's happening domestically, the lies that were told just yesterday, the way that we're seeing the 2024 election being fortified and how that's being silenced by the mainstream news media, I want to go into something that I think is very important for everyone to know. Friday night, I have a live stream. It's called the Friday Roundtable with the Liberty First Foundation every Friday, 9 p.m. Fantastic. And we were talking this Friday, literally the second the live stream ended, literally the second it ended, we saw that YouTube decided, this is from YouTube, this is 3 minutes after they deleted our live stream of 3 hours. We were on for 3 hours talking about the Second Amendment and various issues that are affecting Americans and the 2024 election. And lo and behold, what do you see? The last 3 seconds, they decided to strike the entire video, to delete it without any option of being able to recover the entire live stream. They went and just wiped it out and then told us, as you can see on the screen, what was their reason? Somebody held a gun. Someone displayed a firearm. I want to be very clear about that. This is what they said. Someone was holding a firearm. And because someone held a firearm, the entire video had to be deleted and it was gone. And then they told us the exact time stream. You can see it. The timestamp is on the screen. What do you see? There's no one with a firearm. Not one person. And if you go to the link that was provided by YouTube on their own terms, and you look up the firearm regulations, nothing says that a human being cannot hold or display a firearm. Now, many people will say, Mike, why is that a big deal? What's the whole point of that? And I want you to see this. They are desperate. And you're going to see this in 2024. This is the fortification I've been talking about and warning you to be prepared about. And this is international. We are seeing this around the world. In the United Kingdom, they are doing it even more so there. You're absolutely seeing it in North Korea. You're seeing it in China. You're seeing it in Venezuela. But you're also seeing it in Canada. You're seeing it in first and second world nations, in Germany, in France, but especially here in America. We are seeing that the left are going to extreme measures to silence your voice. They're trying to make sure you cannot have a conversation. You cannot think, that you cannot make comments, that you're going to feel punished every time you say something. Now, YouTube reacted very quickly on Twitter when I notified them that you canceled a 3-hour live stream because of the last 3 seconds. And 1, it wasn't something that was against the rules. And 2, it isn't even on the screen. They said, oh, we're so sorry. This is a mistake. And we reinstate it. And the reason why the video's up now, only on my channel, it's not on the Liberty First channel. I don't know why. They reinstated it. And they said, oh, we're sorry for making the mistake. After I embarrassed them, showing that image across Twitter, across YouTube, across multiple social media outlets. See, here's the thing. I had to embarrass them to point out their own rules and how they are breaking the rules. And I know people would say, but Mike, they're an independent company. They can do whatever they want. That's the excuse we get from the left when it's something they want. Oh, well, they're a private company. Oh, really? Because we know that they were massively, they weren't saying that about Truth Social or Getter. They weren't saying that about Rumble. But they do say this sometimes. They don't say that about Twitter now that Elon has it. They said it about Twitter before Elon owned it. See, they're very selective about when they say these things. It's a private company. It can make whatever rules it wants. Yeah, but it can't break the rules that it has. They're making it up. And as I showed you in the evidence there, they made up a rule. They made up a regulation. And they were trying to push this as we are the big, massive corporate company with billions of dollars, tens of thousands of lawyers. You can't beat us. Just walk away. Just accept that they deleted my video, that live stream. Accept that your voice is going to be punished, that we're going to take that away from the public, deny them the opportunity. And when they get caught making it up, which is censorship, which is suppression, which is a smack in the face of the public, when they get caught, what do? Oh, it was a mistake. Well, how is it a mistake? You very specifically did this. You didn't have, that algorithm was searching for a reason. They did it while we were live. They were searching for something and they made something up. That's in the program. You can't tell me it's a mistake when the program, the computer says this is why you were deleted. Someone had to type that out. Someone had to program it to say that. That wasn't a mistake. It didn't exist. It's not a reason. This is how extreme that we are seeing the left-leaning media and the social media work together to try and deny you your freedom, your choice, your opportunity. They're going to punish you for daring to ask questions and to consider the consequences of the answers. That's a big deal. You don't have to be a conservative Republican like I am to get that. No, and believe me, they did this very much because I am a black, Hispanic, conservative Republican. Let me go back to some of the comments here Oh, wow, there's a lot of comments. So let me go to some of the comments there because I wanted to point that out. I want you to see the uphill battle. This is why it's so important for you to like, share, and subscribe, whatever your political preference. As we get into the rest of the show, which is hours of content that's coming, I want you to understand they're going to try and block you from seeing it, from speaking, from thinking. They want you dumb and obedient. We do not. This is the hill we are up against, and the only thing that beats that hill is you like, share, and subscribing. I just have to say it again. So Dow says the government didn't shut down for long enough, in his opinion. And the audio is much better. Okay, thank you for letting me know about the audio. And, well, the government may be shutting down next month. That's still not off the table, especially since we do see that many Republicans are concerned about illegal immigration. Okay, and I know Democrats like to use the word migration. See, they try to use catch-all terms to try and cover and to include legal immigration with illegal immigration. They want to change your mindset and confuse the topic so that they can get away with what they want, which is more illegal aliens entering America. Over 8 million illegal aliens have entered America since the day that Joe Biden entered office. Since we saw in March 2021, that Kamala Harris was put in charge of the southern border protection. And in that time, forget about the rest of the years. Forget about everything except last year. 172 known or suspected terrorists entered into America. That's 172 potential 9/11 attacks. That's 172 San Bernardinos. That's 172 Orlando nightclubs or Fort Hood shootings, or, well, we can go through the entire list. That's what they allowed into America that we know of. We know that 546 known and suspected terrorists tried to enter America. We know 172 got successfully in. That's a 25% success rate. That 25% success rate. And remember, terrorists only need to get it right once. That's the problem. Terrorists only need to get it right once. Because suicide vests, bombings, planes falling out the sky, they only need to get it right once. 25% of the time they were getting it right, getting into America. And you're not supposed to be concerned about illegal immigration. So a lot of Republicans are saying we need to shore up our border. Now, everyone focuses on the southern border. We have been saying for literally a decade, no, you have to worry about the northern border too. We have to worry about Canada. And we know that just in December, we found out about known and suspected terrorists entering America from the north, coming into New York State, attempting to get into New York State from Canada. So we need to be aware. Northern border is important as well. By the way, why did that known terrorist in Canada try and get into America through New York State? Sanctuary state, sanctuary city. He knew he would be protected. He could have gone into North Dakota. He could have gone into Montana. Could have gone into Maine. Could have gone a lot of places. He went to New York State to enter into the United States through a sanctuary state, which will spend $60,000 per illegal alien to put them up into 3-star and 4-star hotels to give them tickets to travel anywhere in the world one way. If you're a terrorist, if the terrorists are trying to get into and they want to go to Kansas, they come to New York, they take the ticket, one-way trip ticket, and they're shipped over to Kansas, or they want to go to Morocco. They want to go to London. They want to go to Texas. They want to go to, I don't know where. They come into New York State, and New York State will give them besides putting them up in a 3- and 4-star hotel, ahead of American citizens, they'll also give them $60,000 a year and a one-way ticket. After they've spent all the money, they will give them a one-way ticket to go anywhere in the world. So this is why you may see the government shut down in February, because we got to stop that. It's breaking our cities. It's breaking our states. It's endangering people's lives. So you may see that break in the next month or two. And this is why they don't like us talking about it. But let me go on with the comments because I've fallen way, way behind. I apologize about that in terms of keeping up the comments. Dow says, do we know if the Liberty First Foundation stream of the live stream, has that been returned? To my knowledge, the answer is no. You can go and look it up right now, folks. You can go into YouTube and look up Liberty First Foundation and see if their live stream exists from Friday. I don't believe it is. Mike Bowie says, what was the context for holding up the gun? Okay, fair question. Good point. As you can see in the video, and it's only in the last, I think, 10 minutes of the 3 hours and 2 minutes that we had the live stream, one of our commentators, one of the hosts, Frank Johnson, a New York State licensed firearm instructor, was displaying a Henry rifle that he was giving away. He's giving away a Henry rifle. The Liberty First Foundation is giving away a Henry rifle, and he displayed what people would get. He displayed the gift item, the rifle. He showed people, this is what the rifle looks like. That's it. That's the context of the gun. It wasn't a gangster. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't menacing. There is no magazine. There's no modifications to the firearm. And no one talked about disassembling, assembling, or if there was any modification or making any changes to the firearm. He merely held it in front of him so the camera could see the barrel, see the entire firearm. That's it. That's the context. It's more innocent than the videos for John Wick or Commando or almost any action movie you have ever seen. Most video games have more violence than what we were showing there. And yet, and again, even if the context was he was being aggressive in holding it, holding a firearm is not prohibited by YouTube's regulations, unless you're a conservative. If you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, if you're not blindly following the Democrat and progressive ideology, then merely possession is guilt. Accusation is guilt. Possession is guilt. They don't care. You're a criminal. You must be punished because you didn't do what they approve of. Their feelings were hurt. That's what the problem was. So that's the answer to the context. And again, you can go to the live stream. You can see it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Just go right to the end. You'll see in the last 10 minutes. You'll see exactly what I mean. Now, Dow says this ties in with the domestic news later about the DOJ and the Department of Homeland Security pursuing people on the Capitol lawns on January 6th, not individuals who did not enter the Capitol, and social media posters about the event. Mike Bowie says he wants to build a wall around his house. Why not? Nancy Pelosi has one. So does Chuck Schumer. So does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So do the roughly 53% of millionaires that are elected and in Congress right now. They all have mansions. They all have houses that are walled off from you, the public. So why not? Happy Life has joined us. Hello, Happy. Happy says, good afternoon and hope all is well. I'm doing great. I hope you had a good start to your holiday as well. So I know this may be a lot for people who are new to the channel, we cover a lot of stuff here. And more importantly, I want you to understand this isn't isolated. This isn't about me. It's not about the channel's content. Did you notice how this is all tied together to the 2024 election? How they are fortifying the election by abusing their own rules, by selectively targeting individuals with ideologies that might affect your vote in 2024, that they are trying to suppress certain ideas, both here in the United States and around the world. They don't want people thinking, and they don't want people to realize that they are free to think. This is what's important, and this is what's being discussed. So I think it's very important. Obviously, and I thank Mike Bowie and Dow for asking questions, and you too, even if you disagree, please understand, even if you disagree, I'm happy to hear your voice. That's what this channel is about. It's not just me talking. It's not just people who agree with me talking. It's if you think I'm wrong. If you think it's wrong that someone could possibly hold a firearm, please tell me why. I've heard this argument before. I've heard people say, well, because Wile E. Coyote in the cartoons with Roadrunner, they're violent, so kids can't see it. That isn't a reason why kids join gangs. That's not the reason why there is violence amongst youngsters. That's not the reason. Poverty might be the reason. Education could be a reason. Not having a family unit, a nuclear family, having a family that only has one parent and that parent spends a good amount of their time at work, yeah, that could be a reason. Being stuck in the cycle of government dependency, that could be a reason. But if you're telling me that because the kids saw a 15-minute cartoon where a cartoon character, a cartoon coyote that stands on two legs and can speak, falls off of a cliff and doesn't die and just gets up and keeps on going, and that's going to make a kid decide that he's going to be a gangbanger trying to carjack you, I'm sorry, you're reaching. But we have seen that that's what the society is based on right now. Oh, that could be violent. So that's the reason why they're conservative, and that's the reason why they're racist and sexist. You are reaching. And we need to call them out for these kinds of idiotic thoughts. Oh my God, you didn't like the Marvels. Well, that's because you don't like women. No, I just don't like bad sci-fi. I don't like bad cartoon characters. I don't like bad writing, bad directing, bad CGI, bad artwork. I just don't like bad entertainment. Oh no, but it must be. But it's really because of women. You must hate women. Why must I hate women? You're trying to distract from all the problems that are inherently there, that are objectively present. And because they are objectively present and you cannot defend it, we're going to switch the subject. We're going to distract and pivot to something that you can't argue about. Well, you're just a sexist, so stop speaking. No one's going to listen to you anymore. Matter of fact, let's ban them. You held a firearm. That must be dangerous. Children are now seeing that firearm and they're going to go and join a gang. How many action movies have there been in history? Video games, movies? You mean to tell me that that's the reason? Come on. So I do want to go into that, but that obviously got me very upset. It got me very upset. And that's why I spent the early hours of January 6th were me letting people know how absolutely asinine YouTube is, how arbitrary their rules are, and how they're making it up as they go. All of it just to punish you. They've been punishing me for over a decade. That's why our channel only has 1,145 subscribers, something like that. They've been suppressing us forever. I don't care. But they're there to punish you because it's an election year, and this is how they fortify elections. they stop you from being able to speak or to learn anything. All right, that I think I've covered that. Let me also go on to, so let's talk a little bit about what's actually happening in the world. And yes, we're going to talk about January 6th. Yes, we're going to talk about January 6th. We're going to talk about Joe Biden. We're going to talk about the speech that he made where he lied to the American people. We'll talk about Donald Trump. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I did want to address before, whoops, where is it? There it is. I did want to address before we get there. There it is. So North Korea, just like you have made resolutions to lose weight, you've made resolutions to improve your life, to all kinds of things. North Korea is making a resolution too. And you're not hearing about that as much. Why? Everyone's talking about January 6th. Everyone's talking about the Iowa caucus that's coming up. Everyone's talking about the 2024 election. Don't lose track of the fact that we have someone in the White House now, and they are failing you. That right now, America is being threatened. Our allies are being threatened. Our treaties around the world are being threatened. That there are 3 regional wars that we need to be concerned about going forward. And one of them happens to be in Southeast Asia. Not just China, which has promised to take over Taiwan by force, but also their puppet, which happens to be North Korea. And North Korea has fired more rockets, missiles, and ICBMs targeting South Korea, Japan, and the United States more than we have ever seen before. No president in 8 years or 4 years has ever faced this much of a threat since we started this ceasefire, the ceasefire with Korea. We're talking since 1955 that we've been at a ceasefire, and we have not seen any kind of, since the act of warfare, we have never seen this kind of activity from North Korea before. And they have now promised that they are going to, their resolution for 2024 is to get into a fight. They want to be in a shooting war. And they're firing off hundreds of artillery rounds. They're firing off dozens, if not hundreds, of rockets, missiles, and ICBMs, and have nuclear capabilities. And they have guaranteed us they're going to build even more nuclear weapons. And they have hypersonic missiles that we cannot shoot down. And the mainstream media really isn't paying attention to this. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want you to realize North Korea is amping up. They are not just militarized, because they always were. They are getting their logistics in place. They're figuring out their targets. They're watching the response. What's the response time in South Korea? What's the response time in Japan? What is the United States doing about this? Meanwhile, China is over basically blockading and having a siege warfare against the Philippines in the ocean, trying to take control of the Red Sea. And where's the United States in all this? Did you notice I mentioned several of our allies? Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, the Philippines. That's 4. 4 of our allies are being subjected to essentially siege warfare and terrorist threats. Where's America? Where's Joe Biden? Do you think that maybe Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Taiwan may hold a grudge, that they may be upset with the Biden-Harris administration and America in general, considering they have treaties like the 1960 U.S.-Japan treaty that guarantees, right or wrong, that the United States will defend Japan against any and every threat, period. That's how the treaty was written. Don't believe me? Look it up. Look at the treaty. It's the 1960 U.S.-Japan treaty, which is based on the treaty that we started in 1948. we guarantee we will protect them, period. That's why we have a base in Okinawa. And they lack confidence in the United States, in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris so much that they're building their first army since 1945. You should be concerned about this. Dow says that he saw a report that Putin, the president of Russia, has point blank refused any American-led ceasefire and negotiations now. Putin basically told Biden, you blew your chances at the beginning. Well, he did. And again, Ukraine-Russia is still going on. And you notice the news media stopped talking about it. Why did they stop talking about a conflict that we are currently spending hundreds of billions of dollars on, that Joe Biden is actively trying to fund even more? They stopped talking about it. Remember, it was supposed to be over in a month. Then it was supposed to be over in 3 months. Then it was supposed to be over in a year. But it's still going. And we're still being told, no, we've got to fund this. And they're going to win. And they're losing. And we don't have the money. And we've given them all of the bullets that all of Europe and the United States has available. We don't have enough bullets for them to keep fighting. That's just a fact. And we now know, and the world now knows, how long it takes to use up all of the bullets and ammunition for NATO, for the European Union, and for the United States. They now know what that number is. They know how long it takes. We've given them a logistical benefit. Gee, as we are seeing China gearing up for war, as we are seeing North Korea gearing up for war, as we are seeing the Middle East gear up for war. We're not even, the Middle East, you think it's bad now? It's not even there yet. It's going to get so much worse. And so they are preparing. And no, why would Russia ever look at, no one respects Joe Biden. Democrats don't respect Joe Biden. And you're telling me that world leaders are supposed to respect him? No one. He's a joke. Come on. You may be a Democrat, but you can't tell me that you think Joe Biden is a strong leader. He is not. Even when he's reading off the scripts, even when he is accusing people of lie after lie after lie, he is not a strong leader. No one in the world believes that. No one. Not even Putin. So why would they go and say, oh, well, we'll go to the United States. They can get a better deal off of Russia, can get a better deal from Germany. And they absolutely can get a better deal from France, because France is trying to make friends with China. So why not? And that's important for you to understand. These things have been happening, and the dominoes keep falling. And even though the mainstream news media wants to hide this from you, they are editing this massively. They give you 30-second snippets of the truth of what is going on without giving you further context, because they want you to forget. They want you to obey. They stop talking about Ukraine because there is nothing but failure there. It's kind of like how they don't talk about the economy, because it's a complete failure. Why do they not want to talk about illegal immigration? Because it's a complete failure. Why don't they want to talk about gun control? Well, they do talk about gun control, but it's only to blame Republicans that it exists, but they don't want to talk about the fact that it has always failed. Gun control has never worked. If it did, we wouldn't need more gun control laws. It has always failed because it's always the same law, which is you don't get to have a gun. That's it. That's their only answers. I'm going to take away your gun. Legal, law-abiding American citizen. We'll take away your gun. You're not the problem, but we'll take your gun anyway. That doesn't stop the criminals. That being said, let me come back. Went on a bit of a tangent there. Let me bring myself back to what we are talking about here, which is North Korea remains a threat, and in 2024, you will see that threat escalate. one of the big things to understand is that because this is an election year, and because we have seen poll after poll after poll has told us Democrats don't want Joe Biden, they don't want Kamala Harris. They don't want them in the race, period. 68%, sometimes as high as 72%. Do not want them. The world has seen that for years. They have seen Joe Biden run away from the fight against Al-Qaeda and the Taliban in Afghanistan. He ran away from Ukraine, all the Americans there. He ran away from the Sudan, which happened to be ISIS in charge of that. But he ran away from there. He's terrified of Hamas. Joe Biden has literally been beaten everywhere in the world. In like every conflict that's going on, everyone has beat Joe Biden because Joe Biden is terrified that he's going to have to fight anything. He's going to drop a couple of bombs here and there in Syria. Really had no impact. Dropped some bombs in Iraq. Pissed off the Iraqis. Pissed them off. Oh, joy. He got that into a situation that made it worse for America. But no one's afraid of him. No one is looking at this seriously. And everyone has looked at 30,000 Americans have been abandoned by the Biden-Harris administration. And they don't talk about it. But the world, every leader in the world is looking at their checkbook going, oh, so he'll run away from the Taliban, 10,000 people. He'll run away from everyone, including Hamas. Hamas killed 34 Americans, have taken hostage at least as many as 22 Americans that they sexually torture at this moment as we speak. That is why Antony Blinken is in the Middle East right now to try and buy back the hostages. And Joe Biden is so afraid of Hamas, he is so afraid of the progressive left that he won't even talk about Hamas. He won't even talk about the fact that they have Americans held hostage. Remember the last time people took Americans hostage? That was 1979. It was President Jimmy Carter. Did you hear? Most of people watching right now weren't alive then to know. I was alive. I remember the news. I remember the newspapers. I remember the way everyone was speaking about, we have to get those Americans back. Iran had Americans, held them hostage for 400 days. Dozens of Americans. And that was the number one news item throughout the entire year. 79 to 80. Everyone wanted those hostages back. There was nothing else to talk about. We won't even mention. Look at the New York Times today. Look at any of your left-leaning news media. Look at CNN. Look at MSNBC. And count the number of times they mention that Hamas has 22 American hostages at this moment that they are torturing and sexually abusing. That is a fact. It is irrefutable. It has been confirmed. We know this. Internationally, it has been confirmed from left-leaning sources. How many times are they going to mention the American? They will not. They won't mention it even once. And that's why North Korea thinks that they can get away with everything, that they can start a war, that they can blackmail the Biden-Harris administration to give them billions of dollars that we don't have, because Joe Biden is afraid of every conflict in the world. He is afraid of every nation in the world. He will talk with bluster and say, oh yeah, Putin's a killer, Xi is a dictator. Oh yeah, he'll say that on American news media thousands of miles away from them. He won't say it to their faces. When he went to the G20 and the G7 meetings and Chairman Xi was in his face, he didn't call him a dictator then. When he saw Putin at the G20, He didn't tell him he was a dictator and a killer in his face. No, no. Then he was a lot more subdued. Yeah, he talks big. Joe Biden is that internet troll, that anonymous internet troll that talks really, really big because nobody knows who you are and you have no power whatsoever. That's Joe Biden. Does anyone disagree with me on that? And I'm happy to hear from anyone on the left, any elected official, any Democrat that is elected or seeking re-election, any progressive members of Antifa, do you disagree with me that these are the facts that I am making my conclusion based on? It has nothing to do with my feelings. There are no feelings here. I haven't mentioned my feelings not once. These are the facts that Joe Biden will run away from every single conflict everywhere in the world. And he will do it as fast as possible to divest himself of those conflicts, to get away from it, and to have the media instantly stop talking about them. I mean, we stopped talking about what's happening in Afghanistan, where 5,000 Americans have been abandoned, and we know from the Department of Defense, the DOD has admitted that we know that some 100, possibly 200 Americans of those 5,000 are currently being tortured by ISIS and Al-Qaeda. We know that for a fact. That came out in 2023. That was in April of 2023 when they issued that report. Got killed, buried, done. Think about that. This is what Joe Biden's consequence. This is what his history. This is what we are living through right now. And I advise every single person, if you're going overseas, do not count on an American government under the Biden-Harris administration. Do not count on them ever coming to save you. They won't. They will throw you away and forget that you ever existed. That's what they did to people in the Sudan. That's what they have done to people in Ukraine and Afghanistan. And they are doing it to people right now in Gaza. You are not going to be special unless you happen to be a black, lesbian, drug-addicted entertainer, which is Brittany Grines. Unless you're Brittany Grines, you're not going to get saved. They will throw everyone else under a bus. But if you're Brittany Grines, if you happen to be a black lesbian entertainer with millions of people that follow you and you're progressive, well, then they'll save you. But I think 99.9999% of the world aren't black lesbian basketball players. So you're going to be screwed. So Dow says Neville Chamberlain would look like a villain war hero. Valiant war hero next to Joe Biden. Yes, he would. Agent Black, hey, speaking about the United Kingdom, Agent Black is with us. Happy New Year to you. 2024 is going to be intense. Yes, it is, and it has already been intense. It's going to continue ramping up because the rest of the countries in the world are going to get involved in this. They're going to try and keep Joe Biden as long as possible. And you're going to see them taking steps. And this is going to be a year, I believe. Prediction. Here we go. Nope, I hit the wrong button. Here we go. Hang on a second. There we go. Sorry, my computer's acting up. I want to say prediction. Let me give you a prediction. We will see more illegal aliens in the United States and in the United Kingdom under Rishi Sunak in 2024 than we have ever seen before. Now, I know it's not a big thing to say because in every year that we've had Joe Biden, 2021, 22, 23, we have seen more and more illegal aliens entering into America. Last year was about 3.2 million illegal aliens that we know of that came into America, broke our laws, helped to break our infrastructure. That's a fact. Yes, I understand that. And you had massive record-breaking illegal aliens trying to get into the United Kingdom under Rishi Sunak. Because we're going to see elections this year, you're going to see a slew of these illegal aliens trying to get in and out. They're going to try and get into the nation as soon as possible because the election may change everything. They're going to want to be here before anyone gets elected so that they are covered, they're grandfathered in. So this is going to be the year that you're going to see more than you have ever seen before. You're going to see them flying in here in droves. We may see 4 million illegal aliens entering or at least attempting to enter the United States in 2024 so that they can be here in case Joe Biden miraculously, somehow, he and Kamala somehow miraculously win the 2024 election because of the fortification of the 2024 election, because of a repeat of what we saw in previous elections. If they get in, that's great. But if they don't, well, we know Donald Trump will put in the wall. Donald Trump will close down the border. He will not support sanctuary cities and sanctuary states in the way that Joe Biden does. He's not going to provide federal funding for that. You're not going to necessarily get $60,000 a year under a Trump administration. So you want the gravy train, you want all the free stuff, you want to be included in the amnesty deal, you got to be here as soon as possible. They're coming now. That's why there is a migrant caravan right now that is traveling through Mexico right now that has 8,000, let me say it again, 8,000 illegal aliens from Venezuela, from Angola, from China. No, they're not Mexicans. These aren't Mexicans that are trying to come in. And for all of the left that love to try and make this about, well, you're just racist. No, one, Mexican isn't a race. So shut up, you're stupid. That's crazy. To say that, oh, well, you're against Mexicans, so you're a racist. You don't understand the English language. You're not thinking it through. But more importantly, oh, well, it's just because of where they're coming from. No, they're illegal aliens. And they're coming from all across South America, Africa, Southeast Asia. And as we know, Southeast Asia is getting more active and more of a problem. The Middle East is becoming more of a problem. We have Africa. There are more civil wars and conflicts going on. It is ramping up since 2021. They're coming more in droves than ever before. They want to get here now before the laws start changing, while the money is still flowing. While Biden absolutely is throwing money at every problem he can to try and buy his way into the presidency for 2024. And I say that because look at all his programs. Here's more money. Here's more money. This is not new. We've heard this from Thomas Sowell in the 70s, in the 80s. He told you. Thomas Sowell, very well-regarded economist, a brilliant black professor, and well-known former Democrat. And what did Thomas Sowell say? Oh, when something goes wrong with Democrats and progressives in their policies, when they fail, their answer is always the same. Oh, we just need to spend more money. We just need to give it more time. We just need to give it more resources. You need to have less freedom, take away more of your rights, and eventually it will become true. Whatever it is will succeed eventually. Mind you, no one has ever seen that actually happen. They've been saying since 1958, climate change is a danger in different forms, whether it's global famine, global warming, global cooling. Now it's climate change. Since 1958, climatologists have been saying you're going to die within the next 20 years over and over and over again. They have never been right. Not one prediction has ever been true or correct since 1958. None of them. All the science, none of it true. None of it accurate. But their answer is, give us more money, give us more time. It will eventually be true. It has never been true. They have been factually incorrect every single time. Every theorem they have put together has failed. Every theory doesn't happen. Every prediction, completely wrong. Give them more time, give them more money, and they will eventually be true. This is what we see from progressives and progressive ideology. And this is how they look at immigration. And this is why you are seeing your cities fall apart. Chicago, Boston, New York, Boulder, Austin, LA, Portland, Seattle. They're falling apart before your eyes. Okay, let me go back to some of the comments here. Let's see here. Dow says, might as well just start calling them illegal invaders as government-sponsored revolutionaries. Well, some of them you could say that about. I would say that about some of those who are coming from the Middle East. We have military-age single men, a huge proportion of the, quote, refugees that we have never vetted, that we know nothing about, that are coming into the United States. They're taking a flight from the Middle East into New York. They didn't go to Europe. They didn't go to England. They didn't go to Mexico or Canada. They went straight to the United States. They're coming in. We have no idea who these people are. And we do know that Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, they have all said that they are going to infiltrate the United States and try and kill Americans here domestically, that we are not safe in America because they will come for us. In fact, we heard that, we've been hearing that all through the end of 2023, November, December. We've been hearing Iran say that, they're going to attack America because America dares to try and stop the genocide against Israel. They've been saying that. The Ayatollah, President Raisi of Iran, have been saying this repeatedly for weeks now. So, yeah, I'd be very worried about these new refugees coming from the Middle East that have never been vetted, that we do not know anything about. That's a problem too. So you make a good point, Dow. Dow says, I'm hoping I've left all of the ills and illnesses of 2023. Okay, you're talking to Agent Black. Agent Black says, the big question is, do we make it to the election? Of course we do. We will make it to the election. That's no matter how many illegal aliens come into America, no matter from what countries, no matter the political preferences and backgrounds of those individuals, no matter how much money is spent, and by the way, inflation will be up 6%, we're going to see everything continue. Giants don't fall all at once that fast. It takes time. It takes time for a building to fall apart. Once it gets going, yeah, it's fast, but it takes time to start that process. And that's what we're seeing right now. So I mentioned a prediction about illegal immigration, that we're going to see illegal immigration at about 4 million, roughly. Now, I could be wrong. And please, I hope to be wrong, but we're going to see them flying in both, and I am including in those illegal aliens, individuals who are going to claim asylum, because they all do, every single one of them. The second that they touch American soil, they're going to run up to you and say asylum, because that's what they were trained to do. That's what keeps them in America. They know that. That gets them a 3-year window that you can't touch them. It's a getaway free car. It is the first step in getting a 3- and 4-star hotel and $60,000 in their pocket. So they're all asylum seekers, which is why they're all illegal aliens. But you're going to see a massive inflow, just like the 8,000 migrants caravanning into the United States as we speak right now. We know they are coming. They have not been stopped. They will be here at the end of this month, beginning of next month. 8,000. That's just one. That's besides the people who are on the border. That's besides the fact that we have thousands entering the United States across our southern border every day. We have dozens, if not sometimes hundreds, if not sometimes thousands of illegal aliens entering places like Lukeville, Arizona. Lukeville, Arizona, where the gates in the Trump wall were welded open. That's the immigration policy of the Biden-Harris administration. Weld the gates open. You're going to see more of this. You're going to see so much more of this. Going along with that is the economy. The economy is not going to end. There's going to be, yet another prediction, so let me put it up here again. Prediction, there is going to be inflation of about 6 to 7% in 2024 alone. I can tell you that that's going to happen. I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever. You will see the inflation increase by approximately between 6 and 7% between today and the end of and the same day, 1 year from today, 2025. You will see that inflation. And you're going to say to me, Mike, how can you be so sure? How do you know that inflation, we're hearing there's going to be a soft landing in the economy. How do you know there's going to be 6, 7% inflation? Really, it's very easy. Because that's the cap on the spending. That's the spending limit that Congress is going to use. We are going to spend $35 trillion. That's a ridiculous number. It's insanely large. But we're going to spend $35 trillion. That's already been guaranteed. That was the deal that was already made. We know that the government's they're going to bluster about it. You're going to see Mike Johnson. He's going to say he wants to cut the budget and he wants to cut the spending. And everyone's going to come up and go into their re-election speeches saying that, oh, I need to cut the budget. We got to cut the spending. We have to spend better and spend smarter. We're going to spend $35 trillion. It's a fact. We already know it's going to happen. So you can complain and they can say they want to cut this, that, and the other. It's going to happen. They already have the budget deal. They know what their credit limit is. It's $35 trillion. And then in January of 2025, they'll talk about increasing it even more. So we know there's going to, and when they do that, inflation goes up. We have seen that under Joe Biden alone, the United States national debt increased 17.3%. And wouldn't you know, the inflation, total inflation for the United States in that same exact time period, 16.4%. Gee, isn't it interesting that as America spends money it doesn't have, it also inflates the dollar that exists. It causes inflation of almost exactly the same amount. Isn't that curious? Yes, we will see 6 to 7% inflation in 2024. I don't care who wins the election. I don't care who's in charge of Congress. I don't care what promise they make or whether they shut down the government or they don't. We already know what the ceiling is. They already know what the target is. They're going to spend to it. Guaranteed. Matter of fact, they will spend more than $35 trillion because they'll need to increase the credit limit in 2025 again. So guess what? We're going to have at least 6 to 7% inflation. Does anyone disagree with me? Let's find out. Let me go back to some of the comments here. Let's see. There it is. Agent Black in the UK says, the left knows that they will lose. They can't afford to see the election. They will do everything they can to push a potential civil war or World War III and more. I have to push back against you on that, Agent Black. I don't think that they want a civil war because they will lose. I don't think there isn't going to be World War III because China and Russia and Iran, they hate each other. They hate each other. They are not connected in any way, shape, or form. Their ideologies do not match up. The one thing they are unified on is they hate America. They hate the West. And so they are more than happy to help each other in defeating the West. I guarantee you, if Europe, the European Union were to fall, if the United States were to fall, the UK were to fall, they would instantly turn on each other. China would fight with Russia and Iran would absolutely try and genocide anyone that doesn't believe exactly what the Ayatollah says. I mean, they're fighting with ISIS, another radical Islamic sect. So they will fight amongst each other instantaneously. They hate each other. So they won't have World War III, which is when we see these different groups come together based on one ideology. And I don't count hating the West as an ideology. That's just a byproduct. Iran doesn't like the West because we don't kill the gays. We allow women to drive and to read. That's their big problem. That's their ideology, which is not shared by China, which says everyone should be a slave to the government, that you're all equal in poverty, and that's it. That's the communist idea. Russia right now is just saying they want the glory of the old Russian Empire and they want to build it back up. Those are very different views. None of them are aligned. They clash with each other constantly. But they especially hate the United States, followed by the United Kingdom and Europe. And they want to destroy all that. So I don't think it's World War III. I think it's 3 regional wars, which we have discussed on this channel many times. But I do think, Agent Black, that you are correct that along the way, we will see progressives and the left try to manipulate people, to isolate people who have unapproved messages, who point out these consequences, these logical consequences, these events that are happening before us, and they will try and silence them and try to nullify them so they can magnify their election results, essentially fortifying the election. So I do agree with you there. Graham says hello and it's happy Sunday. Hello, Graham. Thank you for joining us from out in California. Happy to have you here with us. Graham says, I was thinking about earlier today, do you think the Blinken Project, for those who don't know, the Blinken Project is made up of individuals who call themselves Republicans that support Democratic ideology or progressive ideology. So they're Republicans in name, otherwise known, many people call that rhino, Republican in name only. The Blinken Project is made up of these very famous or relatively famous, politically famous Republicans who support progressive ideology, especially in terms of they hate Trump. So anything that has to do with President Trump that pushes a progressive ideology, that's what the Blinken Project is for. And so the Blinken Project chose its name because they want to contribute to the intellectual framework that leads to a presidential, I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube because they want to get rid of me. I'll say it anyway. Assassination. No, I don't believe that the Blinken Project would advocate for the removal of a president by force. I don't believe they want to advocate that. Whether any individual in the Blinken Project, like any individual at Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, also known as PLOT, any individual at Indivisible New York, Working Families Party, the Progressive Left, Democratic Socialists of America, they all may have members that individually would like to see the premature death of a president. But I don't think those groups would advocate for that because the consequence of that is, one, it would unify America. America becomes unified when Americans' figureheads and our symbology are attacked. When you attack the Twin Towers, all of America came together. When they attacked Pearl Harbor, all of America came together. When they kidnapped the Americans working in the embassy and throughout Iran in the 1980s, America came together. When we get attacked, we come together when we know about it. One of the reasons why we're not seeing that same result about the 5,000 Americans in Afghanistan, 10,000 in Ukraine, the 15,000 in the Sudan, the 22 hostages held by Hamas at this moment, sexually tortured and abused at this second. Why is America not reacting to those situations the way we did to 9/11, to Iran in the 1980s? Well, the answer to that is most people don't know. Most people are ignorant because the news media has successfully reduced the news to about 30 seconds, and they move on to the next thing almost immediately. They're basically giving you a headline, and they're wording the headline on some of these subjects as ambiguously or misleadingly as possible to make you think it's okay. When they talk about Hamas and the Americans that are being held hostage, if they mention the Americans held hostage, they normally say internationals or multinationals are held hostage. These are American newspapers. They're saying, oh, well, there are people from many nations that are held hostage. I don't care about the people in other nations, to be quite honest. I care about Americans. If you're in the United Kingdom, you care about the Britons. If you happen to be in France or you have to be from Senegal, you care about your people. And that's fine. I have no problem. If someone in Thailand is saying, I don't care about American hostages held by Hamas, I understand. You've got your people to worry about. I don't have a problem with that. So I expect American news media should be talking about the American hostages. Instead, every time they very ambiguously say, oh yeah, it's the international hostages. I don't care about international. I care about American hostages. So the problem is this, it's very aggravating. I'm sorry. I get very aggravated about this situation, about these American hostages. I really do. I can't get past this, that we have abandoned so many people and that there are Americans right now, and MSNBC has tens of thousands of employees. CNN has tens of thousands of employees. The New York Times, go through the mainstream media, and they receive hundreds, if not billions of dollars. God knows how many grants they get from the government every single year. I'm in poverty. They get grants that would turn me into the top 1% of America. If I get a grant, the same grant that CNN gets, I'd instantly be in the top 1% of American incomes. They can afford to go into this and spend the time and spend the energy to show you the evidence and to talk about this. They don't. They don't care Americans are being tortured or killed. They have an agenda to win an election. That really pisses me off. Let me bring this all the way back. So, Graham, to your question. These groups, like the Blinken Project, they want to maintain the status quo. Part of maintaining the status quo is to limit the emotional reaction of individuals like myself, to limit the information that creates the emotional reaction that most Americans will have. So don't tell Americans that 15,000 members, fellow Americans, were thrown to the wolves in the Sudan. That happened at the end of April of 2023. It was internationally known. They stopped talking about it. So because I got pissed off. Before anyone else could get pissed off, before there would be a demand to do something to save those 15,000 Americans, or as many as we could, instead of doing that, which would be politically iffy for the Biden administration, especially considering his policies towards Africa as we get closer to an election year and black voters, can't have black voters seeing America go into Africa to save Americans. No, that would be bad. So rather than have that reaction, they just dumb it all down. They hide it from the American people. They explain it away as fast as they can. They give as little information, as vaguely as they can, to limit the reactions that are going to come. They suppress people like myself in this channel from when we talk about these things. If we bring it up, if we try to bring it into the national mindset, then they try and hold that down so that they can keep things just as they are and they can keep their power. The members of the Lincoln Project are powerful and they have influence only as long as everything stays exactly the same. And that's why they don't want a Trump. That's why they don't want a Freedom Caucus. That's why they don't want anything to change unless it's going more and more towards the left, which preserves their power. So I hope that answers your question. But if you killed a president, that would unify the nation. You can't suppress that news. You can't suppress that emotion. That would unify America. And a unified America defeats the goals of the Lincoln Project, Democratic Socialists of America, the far left. They lose when America unites. So they don't want something that would be uniting us in such an extreme way. Agent Black says Trump has made a number of, has had several people. Well, every president does, and every president will. That's not new, Agent Black. We know this happens on a regular basis. It is upsetting, but it is something that every president deals with. So Trump is not exclusive on that. Agent Black says, I could show the receipts, but you can't do that on YouTube. No, I don't dispute what you're saying, Agent Black. I absolutely would tell you, yes, there have been many attempts on every president in office and out of office. They all get attempts on their life. And we know that in 2022, there were, it was 2022, that there were 12 members of, I believe, the Iranian the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, a bunch of terrorists, had entered the United States, 12 of them, to assassinate some of the leadership of the United States. That was under Biden in 2022. I do not doubt this. We do know this is happening. Hot Chicks is with us. Hello, Hot Chicks. Thank you for joining us here in 2024. Agent Black, it won't happen, but they'll... Okay. Lindsey Graham. Uniparty. I'm just trying to catch up to the comments here, folks. Give me a second. Okay. So we're kind of up to date with that, with some of the comments there. And I do look at the comments from everyone. I try to make sure that I'm following what everyone is talking about. There it is. And I'm checking, and I do check on what's going on with Rumble as well. I'm looking at you guys too. Thank you for the audience that is on Rumble with us today. I wanted to talk about, let's see. Let me take a step back because we've been very active. I've been somewhat upset, but let's take a step back for a second. Because all of these things are affecting the election, they're also affecting our lives. So let's take a look at something that I think is very indicative of the problem, okay? And that is what we're seeing right now. Since the beginning of the year, we have seen that, give me a second. There. We've seen news about Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. It seems that Friday, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, or at some point, went into the hospital to get a surgery. We don't know what the surgery was for. We didn't know that he was going into the hospital or that he needed to go to the hospital. So he goes into the hospital, and now he has a complication, and he has to stay in the hospital. Nobody knew he was there. Nobody knew what's going on. This is the Secretary of Defense. I want to be very clear about that. This is the Secretary of Defense at a time where we have Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, trying to buy back American hostages from Hamas, to speak with the Middle East to try and convince them all not to attack our only ally in the Middle East, Israel, that we are currently trying to hold back Iran, the Houthis, the Hezbollah, and Hamas, which is all basically just Iran. We're trying to hold them all back, and our Secretary of Defense disappears. We've got threats coming to the United States, both through our borders and through other nations' threats like North Korea, and Secretary of Defense is gone. What is going on with the Biden-Harris administration? And they didn't know. They didn't know. He didn't tell them. Talk about inefficient government. Talk about government that has completely failed itself, that is falling apart before our eyes. They want to fire someone right now because nobody knew. How could that possibly happen? How could no one in the White House, no one in the Biden-Harris administration know where the Secretary of Defense is? How could he just fall off the map and disappear? And they don't know what's going on. And they don't know that he's getting a surgery. Who's doing his job while he's been sitting in a hospital bed? I think this is an important question. And by the way, this is the 2024 election. The Biden administration is so inept, it is so inefficient that members, high-ranking, significant figureheads that are responsible for an international policy and helping to maintain the safety of lives of the United States citizens disappear. God knows how often they just disappear and nobody knows. And we don't know why, and we don't know where they go, and we don't know who's doing their job when they're not there. And you want that for 4 more years? Really? Do you truly want that for 4 more years? Where you have no idea who's in charge. You have no idea who's doing their job. You have no idea if anything is being taken care of. Maybe that's why we have so many Americans who are lost and abandoned overseas. Whoever's supposed to be getting them back home, they're on vacation. They're getting paid to sit in a beach somewhere, and no one has decided to actually check if they're doing their job, see if they're at their desk in Washington, that any kind of plan is being made. They're off, I don't know, maybe they're playing roulette in Morocco. How would you know? We didn't know about the Secretary of Defense. And now we're going to say, well, no, but Mike, it's not like that. That's not how our government's working. Really? Tell me, what is Kamala Harris doing, period? She's supposed to be in charge of the AI, the future of AI. What's she doing? She's supposed to be working on securing the southern border, actually the border, not just the southern border, the border of America, of slowing stemming the growth of illegal aliens entering the United States. We just hit another record last year. We have caravans of almost tens of thousands about to come into our nation. She's failed her job. What is she doing? Where is she right now? What is she talking about right now? I guarantee you it's not about the border and how she's securing America. So when someone says, Mike, there isn't any one person who's in charge of trying to get the hostages back or trying to get Americans back from all the places they've been abandoned around the world, I'd have to say, how do we know? This inefficiency is insane, and they want you to reelect them. Democrats and progressives are like, no, you've got to reelect Joe Biden to do this. I mean, seriously, folks, to do this. You want to reelect the Biden-Harris administration so that people can be on vacations, they can sit back on your tax dollar doing jack, hanging out at a beach somewhere down in South America, and you get nothing for it. I mean, look, we've seen that happen. Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, the mayor of New York City, decided to take a vacation. He called it a business trip. He went down to South America, saw a bunch of countries. He doesn't have anything to do with New York state policy, let alone U.S. national policy when it comes to immigration. Why did he go down to South America? He used your tax dollars on that. He was on vacation. He was having a great time with him and his friends. And you paid for it with your taxes. We had the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, took a trip. Forget about his trip across America, setting up his 2028 presidential run. He went to China. He went to China to talk about international policy, to talk about immigration. He's a governor. He doesn't have an international policy on immigration. There isn't one. That's the United States. He can't make a deal. Even if he wanted to make a deal with Xi Jinping, the chairman of the Communist Party of China, even if he wanted to make a deal, even if he convinced the Chinese government, the communists of China, to never send another Chinese individual to America, which they don't want to do anyway, other than invading us, they don't want their people here. But say they stopped all Southeast Asia illegal immigrants coming into America because of Gavin Newsom. He's not in charge of anything. He can't make the deal. So he was on vacation. This is the inefficiency of the Biden-Harris administration. Because if they were doing their job, if they see these people flying around, shouldn't they be saying, where are you going? Why are you going to try and make policy decisions you can't make? Why are you messing up the conversations and negotiations that are supposed to be happening between the Kamala Harris, that's supposed to be happening with Antony Blinken, that's supposed to be happening with Lloyd Austin? Does that make sense to people? Do you understand why I get upset about that? Sorry. Had to have a drink here. But that's why I'm so upset about this. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Catching up. So, Dow says, Representative Jamie Raskin just put his foot in it in Twitter. He just clarified 130 people are being held hostage by Hamas. Yes, roughly about. I've actually seen the number as high as 152. 130 is on the low end of the estimates out there. But estimates are as high as 152. The thing is, we don't know because the numbers are coming from Hamas. So it's whatever Hamas tells us are the number of hostages because they're the ones who have them all. Okay, but he said 130. Okay. He claims that Elise Stefanik, Representative Elise Stefanik of New York, I've met her before, met her on the campaign trail back in 2014. My campaign. I was campaigning. She was campaigning. It was a good time. He claims that Elise Stefanik, Representative Stefanik, cannot equate political prisoners of January 6th are not the same. Okay. So if I understand, Jamie Raskin is saying that that Hamas holding Americans hostage is not the same as the American government holding Americans in jail without trial, in violation of due process, in violation of the amendments in the Constitution, for a potentially having committed the crime of trespassing. So you're right. Jamie Raskin is correct. It is not the same thing as Hamas. Hamas, October 7th, and since, decided to attack innocent civilians. Hamas, a terrorist organization, killed and captured American citizens. They have tortured and abused those American citizens, and they're using them as human shields, and they do not want to release them. And the overwhelming majority of them have not been released. And they remain sexually abused, tortured, and used as human shields to this moment, to this minute. The American government, with January 6th, is not doing the same thing. The American government has taken over 1,200 individuals, and it plans to increase that to another 1,000. So they plan to have over 2,000 Americans are going to be arrested for trespassing. That is the single most common charge being used against people about January 6th. Trespassing. Not insurrection, not attempts to overthrow the government, not destruction of government property, not even rioting. Trespassing. That's what they are charged with. And that's what they have been convicted on. Overwhelmingly, the single largest charge that has been actually found guilty, trespassing. Okay, which isn't that big a deal. It's a misdemeanor. In most states, that's a misdemeanor. It's not a serious crime, which would corroborate with the 40,000 hours of video that we know exists that shows American citizens walking around the Congress, around the Capitol, without a single, not committing any crime other than trespassing, did not commit a crime. Hundreds, thousands, in fact, multiple thousands of individuals were walking around inside the Capitol who were let in by police officers, who were being observed by police officers, and did absolutely nothing wrong. That's why they got trespassing. That's why it's the number one charge. It is also the number one crime that people have been convicted of. Okay. And that's fair. That is a crime. They've got that. So it's not the same as Hamas. True. But of the 1,200, there are over 400 individuals that the United States government has allegedly will one day eventually might charge them with trespassing, put them into a jail cell, many times in solitary confinement, without giving them a charge, without giving them a day in trial. This is 3 years later. 3 years later. Many of these people have been in jail for well over 2.5 years that are in jail and have not been charged with a crime, that did not get a trial date, have not been given due process. That, I think, is worse than what Hamas is doing. Because that's our government doing the same kind of authoritarian dictator type crap that you see around the rest of the world. That's what you expect to see happening in Uganda or Angola or in Laos, but that's not what you expect to see happening in the United States. That's just evil. That is wrong. So I get where Elise is coming from. Elise is saying, no, you can't do that. That is evil for the United States government to deny people their rights, to punish them. This is the 8th Amendment, by the way, to abuse the punishment system, to punish someone above and beyond the crime that was committed. I was walking through a hallway. Oh my God, I'm going to get 5 years in jail. 5 years in jail for walking down a hallway. By the way, you know who else was walking down a hallway? It was Stephen Colbert and his late night TV show. He got arrested for the same thing, walking through the hallways of Congress without authorization. He got nothing. He walked away. They didn't even charge him a fine. But we have other Americans who are getting 5 years. That is an abuse of the system. It's abusing our amendments, and I agree with Elise, because it's happening from the United States government, because it is something that we would expect from dictatorial, authoritarian governments, it is worse. Okay, and Raskin. Okay, Dow goes on to say, Raskin is making the equivalence. Stefanik never made the comparison. Okay. So Raskin is trying to, again, he's trying to change the discussion, but yeah, it's actually worse. It is worse. And yes, I agree with you, Dow, that unless all 130 remaining hostages held by Hamas are Americans, our responsibility is only to the ones that are American. Remember, Thailand, if we were smart, I said this before when they had the ceasefire with Iran, where Israel had the ceasefire with Hamas, and I said then, we need whoever is negotiating for Thailand. Thailand got 17. They got their people home. They got so many people released that they got people we didn't even know were being held hostage and got them released. That's how good Thailand was. They got their people and more. And they did it by not being involved with Joe Biden, by not asking Joe Biden to be involved at all in their conversation. Thailand went straight to Iran and Israel and made their deal, talked to them, made the discussion, and that got Hamas to release their people. Overwhelmingly, the number one group of people who have been released the most, other than Israelis, would be the Thai people. Because their government is great. Their government is efficient. I want whoever negotiated for Thailand talking for the United States. Stop Anthony Blinken. Stop Joe Biden. God forbid you allow Kamala Harris to open her mouth about this. Send whoever the Thai government sent and have them do the negotiation. That guy or gal is efficient. They're effective. They're the one I want to see doing it, because right now, Joe Biden and Antony Blinken, and God knows where Lloyd Austin are, they all have failed. They are horrible. They are inefficient. They are causing Americans to be tortured. Get them out of the discussion and bring in someone who can actually do the job. So that's my thing about that. And in terms of January 6th, so let's start talking about January 6th a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about January 6th. Because we always were going to talk about January 6th. Right? Because January 6th is obviously one of the big issues on everyone's mind. It's about the election. We know that came up. And, of course, Joe Biden decided that he was going to have a conversation about this. Joe Biden came out with his Valley Forge speech. By the way, I predicted this completely. My prediction, my video predicting what Joe Biden would say, absolutely correct. In the first, 5 seconds, Joe Biden decided that he wanted to compare his administration and himself to George Washington. It's ridiculous. First of all, there is no way that you can look at and in any way and compare George Washington and Joe Biden. And the only thing that I think you could say is, well, they were both white men. George Washington didn't have white hair. He wore a wig because that was what was popular at the time for elected leaders and politicians. He wore white hair, but he wasn't in his 80s running a government. That's not what George Washington did. George Washington, to all knowledge and information that is out about him that I'm aware of, actually had his mind. He didn't have dementia. Joe Biden does. So there's your comparison. They're white men. That's the only thing that George Washington and Joe Biden have that is common. They're white men. Full stop. But, and tell me, if you saw this, I want to hear what people think. When he started saying that, it's just like fighting against the redcoats. And fighting against the redcoats, he is now equated 53% of Americans as if we are the British. I know, Agent Black, hear me out. We're the British from the days of King George, that we are not American, that we do not have American values. He has made us the enemy. In the first 5 minutes of his speech in Pennsylvania at Valley Forge, Joe Biden has set himself up and said he is fighting a revolutionary war to divest America from the evil equivalent of England, which would be fellow Americans. This is what he has done. Do you get that? I think that's absolutely insane and dangerous. I think that's crazy. That I don't even know how to, I want to go through this with you guys. I think it's absolutely terrifying that we had a United States president standing in front of the people. And yeah, I understand. He changed up his last time he tried this trick. He went with the big bully approach. He had members of the United States Marine Corps standing behind him. He was drenched in red light. It was nighttime. He came out like the Emperor from Star Wars, trying to impress you and say, "You're going to obey." Okay, he got bad press with that one. So this time, they made sure that the lights were really bright and that it was an American flag, and he's only in white light so you can see him nice and clearly. Yeah, and they hid any mention of the military so they could hide that, so that he would look more like your granddad. I'm sorry, my grandfather didn't look anything like Joe Biden, and thank God for that. But he came off and he's trying to be, and Trump, I can't call him what I want to call him. Look, I don't care what your personal feelings are about Trump, and I'm sure Trump has the same feelings about you, Joe. That has nothing to do with running America. This isn't about your personal feelings, your personal gripes, your personal grudges. I don't care if you don't like Putin. I care if you can stop him. I don't care if you're best buddies with Chairman Xi and that he signs all of the checks you and your family get from China. I don't care if he does that on a personal basis. I could care less. I care, are you addressing the trade deals, and are you restricting their ability to wage war against our allies? I don't care whether you want to pray next to the Ayatollah Khomeini or if you don't. I care about whether or not you're preventing them from taking Americans hostage and torturing them. This speech, and it really wasn't a speech, it was a bunch of propaganda, which, it's an election year, to be expected. All right. He's doing a campaign speech on January 6th from Pennsylvania. He's doing propaganda. Gotcha. He wants to... This is him fortifying the 2024 election. And they have been selecting their slices of the speech to say, ooh, look, he really dug into Trump here, and he really dug in. He lied. First of all, Trump's that insurrection. He's not an insurrectionist. You don't like Trump. You don't like what Trump may or may not have done. Fantastic. You don't have to like it. Your feelings are not applicable as law. And Trump doesn't, just because you accuse Trump of being an insurrectionist does not make him an insurrectionist. This is really important because I don't care if you like Trump or not. I don't care if you want to vote for Trump or not. Vote for RFK. Vote for Mickey Mouse. I don't care. When you equate guilt with accusation, which progressives love to do, you create an authoritarian government. Everyone is always guilty all the time, no matter what. And when we equate, and we have seen this, you get accused, that means you're guilty, therefore you get punished. We've seen this with Me Too. We have seen this with government consistently, over and over again. And it is normally, while there are some exceptions where the left gets this done to them, it is almost exclusively done towards conservatives, individuals who are opposing the progressive ideology. You're accused of being something. Oh, you're an insurrectionist. Or you're MAGA, which is the same thing. They don't even want to, and again, won't say Make America Great. They say MAGA. You're MAGA. And that means you're evil for some reason. Somehow, wanting to make your country great is evil. And you're an insurrectionist. Did you commit a crime? No. Were you convicted of insurrection? No. Did you burn down a city? No. Oh, okay. But it's still, you're guilty because they accused you of that. Just like you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're a istophobe because they accused you of it. Not because there's actually any fact. They felt like it. So you're guilty, and therefore you get punished. You lose your job, you lose your friends, they delete your videos 3 seconds after you get off of a live stream. They start punishing you. That's authoritarian. That's got nothing to do with a constitutional republic. It has nothing to do with democracy. That is straight up authoritarianism. We need to call it for what it is, folks. It's evil. It is absolutely evil. And that's what Joe Biden was doing on that stage. He was being evil. Trump is an insurrectionist. No, he's not. He's not. Factually, empirically, he is not. Get to a courtroom and prove it. Show me the proof. But he is not. You may feel like that. That's your feeling. Fantastic. Have whatever feeling you want. That's not fact. You don't get to call him that, and you don't get to punish him based on your feeling. You need facts for that. And if you're doing it, you are an authoritarian, and that's dangerous for America. Does that make sense to everyone? Does that make it as simple as it could be to understand what Biden was doing in January 5th on the stage in Valley Forge? That he was trying to make himself seem like he was George Washington. He's there to protect and create the nation out of the ruins of MAGA, out of the ruins of Trump. So President Trump is now supposed to be King George, and people who believe in MAGA are supposed to be the British. That's the analogy he wants to put up there. And he, Joe Biden, in all of his ineptitude, is going to save you from all of that. My God, we're in trouble. One of the most dangerous and delusional things I've ever heard in my life. You know why I find it so delusional? I didn't hear the Democrats say anything when Minneapolis was burning down, which cost $2 billion. People's lives have been destroyed for decades to come because of the autonomous zones in Minneapolis, the riots of BLM. The left had nothing to say and still do not talk about it. What about Portland? 120 days of nonstop rioting. Excused, and that's okay. Let it go. We barely heard the news about it, and everyone was let off with like not even a fine. In both in Seattle and in Atlanta. The autonomous zones there led to the death of children as young as 8 years of age, killed kids, these autonomous zones. And each and every autonomous zone, including the ones that exist right now in California, the ones that exist right now outside of Atlanta, the defenders of the Atlanta force, they still exist to this day. These are autonomous zones, which are, by definition, insurrectionist. They violate every local, state, and federal law, all of them. They are little enclaves of authoritarian dictatorships. And I have yet to hear the left, I have yet to hear the Democrats, I have yet to hear the Biden administration come out and demonize them to say that that is illegal, that that is insurrectionist. It is, by definition, every definition, whether it's a definition from the left or the Webster's Dictionary, every single definition you want to use for describing what is insurrectionist is the autonomous zones that are created by the left that wind up destroying cities and attacking children and killing them. And I have yet to hear the left talk about that. But you want to tell me that MAGA is bad. MAGA is bad. Almost every single event where you see people who are there because of Make America Great, if they go to the event because it's about making America great again, that place usually has a peaceful protest that winds up cleaner after the event than it was before the event. Almost every single time. Almost never have anyone getting arrested at these events. It's people who come to the events to attack and to persecute the people who are there for making America great. It's the left. When they come to antagonize them, that's when you get the arrests. But you know what? Pick just about any riot by the left, what they call their protests. Protests that wound up burning things for some reason. Who knew? You know, it can't be a protest without something burning in fire. You got to break some kind of cars. I mean, still protest, right? No, that's a crime. Those are crimes. You're committing crimes. That's not a protest. Oh, you're just on the right. You just don't get it. I do get it. It's called crime. Protests all you want. I have no problem with that. If you commit crimes, that's something entirely different. If you violate other people's rights, then you're not protesting. You're being a criminal. It's that simple. But the left will never call that out. Instead, they say, oh, January 6th, people who were let into the Congress, who had the doors opened up, waved in by police officers that are on tape with police officers watching them, if not escorting them through the hallways. Yeah, those are the criminals. That's the problem with America. That's danger. Oh my God. 300,000 people were in the Capitol and on the grass in front of it on January 6, 2021. 300,000 people. If they wanted to take over the government, if this was an insurrection, Joe Biden wouldn't be in office. That's a fact. Just wouldn't happen. 300,000 people. None of them came armed. They didn't have weapons. If they wanted to take over the government, they could have brought a couple of weapons and they'd have won. If every single one of them had a butter knife, they'd have won. They didn't even need that. They had 300,000 people. That was more than all of the military there combined, military and law enforcement. If they wanted to just push forward and take over the government, they could have. And by the way, Joe Biden didn't get them to go home. The left didn't get them to go home. The progressives did not get them to go home. Another lie that Joe Biden made in his speech. Oh, Donald Trump did nothing. He did nothing except tell people to go home. And they did. Oh, we forgot that, right? That isn't in the press release coming from the New York Times. That isn't part of the summary from CNN and MSNBC. that Donald Trump did do something. He told the people to go home, to follow the law, and to go home. And they did. And then Donald Trump peacefully transferred power to Joe Biden. Where's the problem? Now, tell me, when you went to the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, when you went to the Autonomous Zone in Atlanta, in Portland, in Boulder, Colorado, in the one they tried to make in Brooklyn, New York, in Austin, if you walked up to them, and the one in Minneapolis, and you said, go home, they laughed in your face. And they tried to burn down their cities. They blackmailed all the businesses. They held their neighbors as kidnapped. They kidnapped them. It was almost like Hamas. Matter of fact, women were being tortured and were being sexually assaulted in every single autonomous zone, going all the way back to, Wall Street. Yeah, all the way back. And yet, we're told those are the good guys. That's the good guys. That's the good guys under the Biden-Harris administration. That's the good guys according to the Democratic Socialists of America. That's the best thing you can look forward to. They're crazy. They are crazy. Joe Biden lied to your face, and he knew it. And he was doing it on purpose because he didn't care. His goal isn't to... His only goal is to win. He just wants to win the election. And he doesn't care about the truth. He doesn't care. He's a liar. Joe Biden is a proven liar. He was a proven liar as a senator. He's a proven liar as vice president. And he's a proven liar now as he sits in the White House. And he was proven a liar on January 5th. That is a fact. Fact check it. You don't have to believe me. It is a fact. He lies on a regular basis. September 1st of 2021, he lied to your face and told you he got all the Americans home except for 100 people. He lied to your face. He has lied consistently to your face. And now here he is, and he is again lying to the people of America and the world, because his political opponent that is more popular and has more popular support, because he may win. And the news media is going to push this lie. They know it's a lie. It's a provable lie. They're going to push it anyway. That upsets me. Because, what are we getting? Imagine that Joe Biden wins, which is improbable. And he goes, I got 81 million votes. That's in dispute. That's always been in dispute. That's the whole point, you moron. Joe Biden's like, I got 81 million votes. Most people don't agree with that. The majority of Americans, as they have been polled year after year, don't believe you got that many votes. I didn't say you didn't win. Maybe you won, maybe you didn't win. That's a different conversation. There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of legal issues that remain, even at this moment, still up in the air. But 81 million votes? No, not necessarily. No, we're not sure about that. So again, he's lying. He's using innuendo. He's he's making assumptions and telling you as if it were true. And you're not supposed to question it. It's kind of like at the very beginning of the show when I told you, it was YouTube. YouTube's policy was, let me show you. Matter of fact, I'll show you. So it's kind of like when YouTube says, hey, you held a gun at this timestamp, but there's no gun there. And because you were holding a gun, which isn't on the screen when you said it was, that's illegal. You can't hold a gun on a video. That's not That's not your policy. Those aren't your regulations. That's not your rule set. And when you send, and we'll send you a link to our rules that show you didn't break it. I didn't break any of your rules. Not a violation of anything. Oh, but we said so. We said you are guilty. We've made the accusation. We accuse you of holding a firearm, which is not a crime. It is not a violation of the guidelines. It's not a problem. But we've accused you, so you must be guilty. So we will then punish you. Even though the truth is you didn't break any guidelines. The guidelines themselves vindicate what you did do. And every fact that was presented by the accuser was wrong. Oh, so you have to reverse yourself. Well, now let's fast forward. And that's Joe Biden. And I give you Joe Biden as that same analogy. All the facts are available. If you know, if you've looked at the facts, if you have the facts available to you, then you know he's lying at every single step. And he's just made the accusation, and because he made the accusation, it must be true. Because he's Joe Biden, because he's sitting in the White House, it must be true. No, it's not. He's just counting on the fact that you're not actually going to check, that you're actually going to just believe because you were told to believe. It has nothing to do with whether or not he's actually right. It has nothing to do with whatever the facts actually are. They just think you're going to comply, and they're counting on you complying because they've got the power and you're just you. It's really upsetting. So I'm very upset about what we're seeing with Joe Biden and this kickoff of his campaign. I would think that the average person in America would be upset about this. I would have thought that the average person would have looked at what he did and said, that's evil. Stop trying to compare yourself to George Washington. You're not in the same boat. You're not in the same qualifications. And I'd take George Washington any day over Joe Biden. If George Washington was alive today, he'd be running against Joe Biden too. He'd be kicking down the streets, kicking down the doors, trying to get rid of Joe Biden. You would have seen if George Washington or any of the members, founding fathers, would have been trying to break down the doors of Congress because nothing that happened agrees with them. Let me say it again. Let me say it a little more clearly. If George Washington were alive today, he would be leading an actual insurrection against Joe Biden because Joe Biden is so far from the values George Washington believed in. That's a fact. So when Joe Biden wants to compare himself, no, don't, because George Washington would kick your ass, Joe Biden. In a heartbeat, he'd kick your ass. You are things he absolutely despises. You're corrupt. You're a lifetime politician. You have no real world experience. You're bad at your job. He would hate you. You're an authoritarian, Joe Biden. George Washington would be absolutely George Washington, Ben Franklin, Jefferson. Name any of the founding fathers. They hate what you stand for, Joe Biden. You are nowhere near. You are not just leagues away from what they're talking about. You are light years away from anything the founding fathers actually believed. Is there anyone who disagrees with me? Is there anyone in the comments that disagree with me about this? I'm also looking over at, bear with me, I'm going to check on Rumble. Is there anyone on Rumble that thinks I'm wrong about that? I don't see anyone who says I'm wrong. Okay. And I think that's the truth of it. But you're not supposed to think about it. And God forbid that you speak about it. And I guarantee you, the same algorithm that tried to delete my entire Friday live stream because of the last 3 seconds where nothing was wrong, that same algorithm is looking at this video and trying to make sure no one gets to see it, that no one gets to talk about it. And if they can, they will delete it, even though they'll be wrong. Because every second they can stop people from seeing this, every second they can stop people from talking about this, means that they have fortified the 2024 election that much more. I truly believe that. Does anyone disagree with me about that? I'm happy to hear the conversations. I'm happy to hear those voices. And please, if you've made it through the last 2 hours, like, share, subscribe. That's all we ask. We ask you just to help us with the algorithm, to break through the algorithm that is actively, as we can show you over and over again, they are trying to suppress us. Not because you have to agree with me, because they don't want you to think. Even if you disagree with me, they don't want you to think about it. They just want you to obey. Well, you know what? Let's be a little bit outside the box. Like, share, and most of all, subscribe. That's all it takes. It doesn't cost you any money, doesn't change anything in the world. It just lets more people from around the world to hear the conversation, to leave comments like you can, saying, hey, this is what I think, whether you agree or you disagree, and here's why. That's all we ask for. Now, if you can, I know the economy sucks, and it's going to be worse, and we're about to get into that in just a second. But the economy sucks. So I know your resolution, you got the gym membership, and then you've got all of the, you've got your Paramount, and you've got your Disney Plus subscriptions. You don't have any money left over after you put in inflation and the bills that are, the new taxes that they just created to help pay for the illegal aliens. You've got no money left. I understand. But if you do, if you can afford $1.50 a month, you can become a member of Patreon. I'd appreciate it. Okay, enough of me trying to keep the lights on. It's important. Got to keep the lights on. That being said, hit the like button, subscribe, and don't send me any money. I don't care. Let's talk about the economy. See, when you're in the middle of a dictatorship, if you're in the middle of an authoritarian government, if you are watching your government transform, when they are literally telling you that they are fighting a war, that's what Joe Biden did. That is what Joe Biden is doing. He is telling you he is fighting a war against you. He is fighting a war against anyone that doesn't obey whatever he says. He has accused them of being evil. He has accused them of being anti-American. He has all but said he is having a war against everyone who does not do what he says. That should scare you. But let's say that same man who's willing to say you are evil because you don't agree with him, that you are a sexist, you're a phobe, you're everything that is wrong with America because you don't listen to him. That same man who has made this blanket accusation and is punishing you for this is also the guy who says that the economy is doing fantastic. Biden inflation is doing fantastic. You're doing well. You just don't understand. Again, you better agree or else. You can't question him or else. If you question this, you are the bad guy. You're on the wrong side of history because it's Joe Biden and Joe Biden's right. Okay, let's think about that for a second. Biden inflation is doing great. You know what? 75% of Americans in every poll after poll after poll, will tell you that is a lie. That Biden inflation is not helping. It is not making things cheaper. The poor are getting poorer under Biden inflation. Biden inflation has not improved the prices of anything for you. Biden inflation isn't helping you get a job. But Mike, the unemployment numbers are 3.7% unchanged. That's not good in a Christmas, the fourth quarter. That's not good. That's actually bad news. Oh, the number of people who are not counted as part of the labor force, people who aren't counted for not working, that went up. The number of people who are in the labor force, down. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Rather than me just say these things, because I know what someone's going to say, Mike, you're saying that, but how could you possibly know? That can't possibly be true. You don't know that for a fact. Okay, I am live right now. I am typing. BLS, United States government. Let's go. Where is it? There it goes. United States statistics. Unemployment going to a 2. The numbers are here in front of you. So I'm showing you, and I have just shown you, I just went through the process to do this live to give you the numbers in front of you. Now I'm going to take my face off of this for a second. I want you to see the numbers. This is something you're not going to see from MSNBC. This isn't something that you're going to see on CNN. ABC News, CBS, they don't want you to look at the numbers. Do you not see the number of people that don't count in figuring out unemployment increased? This is a huge number. This is very important. This is the number of people who work in America. It's down. This number is a huge number. It is very important. It is down. I'm showing, this is from the government. It's not a right-wing conspiracy. It's not right-wing thought. That's the numbers from the government. The economy is bad. These are problems. And Joe Biden's telling you, no, don't worry. It's all fantastic. It's all doing great. You just don't understand. No, I do understand. I just don't agree. There's a big difference. And that's the wording they use. You just don't understand. No, I don't agree. There's a big difference. I do understand, and I understand that you're wrong. The economy is fantastic. No, it's not. Go and pay my bills. I look at my bills. Look at your bills right now. Compare them to 1 year ago. They are higher. That's not better. You can't tell me that's a good economy when it costs more for the same or less. But that's what they're trying to tell you. That's what they want you to believe, because that's part of fortifying the 2024 election. That's part of making sure that Joe Biden remains in power. More importantly, the people behind Joe Biden, they get to remain in power. You don't count. That's the big thing. That's very upsetting to me. That is incredibly upsetting to me. It's kind of like what we see. Where is it? Here it goes. Yeah. It's kind of like what we see when it comes to people like Claudia Gay. Now you'll say, Mike, what do you mean? Claudia Gay? Isn't Claudia Gay that professor at Harvard? She resigned. She was the one who supported racism. She supported genocide. Claudia Gay, the Harvard professor, Claudine Gay, is the former Harvard president of Harvard, who decided that it was okay, that it was perfectly fine. Harvard supports genocide. The murder of people based on their religious ideology. She was okay with that being supported in Harvard, in America. That progressives are okay and think it's perfectly fine to kill people that don't share the same ideology as them. It's okay to kill them. They're perfectly fine with that. That's allowable. That you get a pass as long as you're killing people they don't like. As long as you're killing the people they don't like, that whoever Claudine Gay doesn't like, it's okay if you kill them. But if you're killing people they like, women, minorities, any kind of minority, or anyone that's protected, anyone that the government has decided is special, well, then they have a problem. But if you're not going after people the government considers special, that their ideology doesn't consider special, well, then it's okay. That's scary. Here's the thing that's really bad about this, because she got fired. Claudine, she said she resigned. She didn't resign. She got fired. But here's the problem. She got fired not because she supports genocide. She didn't get fired because Harvard believes in freedom of religion or freedom of speech. That wasn't the reason why she got fired. In fact, those are the reasons why they were trying to keep her as president of Harvard, because she doesn't believe in freedom of speech, because she doesn't believe in freedom of religion, because she is oppressive. They were trying to keep her president at Harvard. And how dare you talk about it, because she's black and a woman. She might even be gay. How dare you question her? Yeah, but I'm talking about, I don't care about how she looks. I don't care about the cosmetics. I don't care about her skin tone. That's immaterial to her actions. We're talking about her actions and her policies and her ideology, and they are repugnant. Whether or not you like the way she looks, the way she dresses, and who she dates, I could care less. That's on you. And if you want to see that, go and watch, Housewives of wherever the hell. I don't care. But I do care about her policies. And her policies were perfectly fine for Harvard and for the intelligentsia. Academia had no problem, and still to this day have no problem with her being, or Harvard being, a faction of genocidal progressives. They have no problem with that. You know why she lost her job? Plagiarism. That really, really, think about that. They aren't upset. The intelligentsia, the academia, the colleges of the United States, the progressives of the United States, the news media of the United States had no problem with the leader of one of the most prestigious colleges in this nation, a college that is pumping out our future reporters, journalists, elected officials, leaders of industry, that this institution is pumping out the leaders of the future, and nobody had a problem with her being, those students being turned into genocidal maniacs. No, that was okay. She plagiarized. She copied someone else's words, and that's unforgivable. You can't. Academia says you copied what someone else wrote. How dare you? How dare you just regurgitate someone else's information? Have you read or seen what most of the intelligentsia is doing today? Most of these people are doing nothing. When was the last time you were in a college class where they just reiterate what someone else said, what someone else did? The first 2, maybe 3 years of college, maybe the entire first 4 years, especially if you're in a community college, the education system all the way up to college is just repeating what someone else said or did. Because they're not teaching you to think. They're not teaching you to have independent thought. What they're teaching you to do is to regurgitate what you've been told. And they want you to do that all the way through, including when you're voting. So she got fired for what they keep doing every day. And she still has a job, by the way. It's not like she's gone. I do see you. I know. Sorry, there was internal inside the studio. But that's the thing that gets me about this. She's still working. Claudine Gay is getting $1 million a year to regurgitate to her students what some other people said because she got fired from being president of Harvard because she regurgitated what other people said without telling you that she did it. See, in the classroom, she tells you, I'm going to regurgitate what someone else said, and you're going to pay me $100,000 a year for me to tell you what someone else said. But when she didn't tell you that, then they got upset. But again, they don't care that she was supporting genocide. She was supporting the murder of innocent children. That was okay, because those were people they didn't like. So that's all right. That's really insulting. And we see this a lot throughout the entire progressive movement, the entire 2024 fortification. It's a bunch of people who say, no, they can be vile, they can be evil, they can be repugnant. And yes, I'm saying that Claudine Gay is all of those things. Not because of her color of her skin, not because she's a woman. I don't know what her sexual preference is, and I could care less, don't even need to know. She's repugnant because she supports genocide. And that, according to progressives, is a good thing. Not that she's repugnant, not that I'm repelled by her, but because she has those feelings. Because that's the feelings they want, and that's the feelings they want their students to have. This is what we've seen in 2021. This has got to be crazy. I'm almost at a loss for words here, folks. I really am. Because you should be scared for the next generation. It is terrifying, not just for this generation, but for the next generation, that they are being taught accusation equals guilt equals punishment. That's not in the Constitution. That's not an American principle. It's not part of the American foundation. But if we get through 2024, and if we continue to walk down this ever left-leaning process, that's what you are going to get. Accusation equals guilt equals punishment. You're going to have a bunch of elites running around America. Thought police, you can call them thought police, you can call them Gestapo, you can call them whatever you want. They're going to be running around making sure, are you going to be accused next? We saw this. This is how China purged tens of millions of people when Mao took over. You aren't communist enough. And we all know you can never be leftist enough. You can never be progressive enough. Because there's always a march to the left. You can always be more progressive. You can always be more leftist. You can always be more authoritarian and dictatorial and deny people's rights and freedoms. And you can attack others ever more and more and more. And they do. And they are. And that's what this election is about. And Claudine Gay is a wonderful example of exactly that. Claudine Gay is an example of success. She oppressed people. She oppressed her own students. She's being paid she's being paid $1 million a year to regurgitate other people's thoughts as she denounces and dehumanizes whole classes of people because her feelings say it's okay. Yeah, I agree with you, Mike Bowie. They are the next generation of looters. They're looting our future, our success, our potential. They're destroying America. And they're doing it with glee. All right, let me see here. Let me double check something real quick, folks. Hang on. Okay. I don't know. I've gone through a few things here that I think are important for the first week. There's more we can get into, of course, always. There's always more we can discuss. There's always more that we can wrap into. But I think in 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I've made it very clear. This is what you're going to see going forward. Monday, doubling down on this, Joe Biden is going to go around and he's going to be talking about racism. Because being MAGA isn't just being British, being evil. It's also sexist. It's racist. Because MAGA is racist. Why? How? Because guns. Because if you believe in America as it exists, as it has existed for 246 years, if you believe in the America that our founding fathers believed in, that George Washington was fighting for, then you believe in owning a gun. And that makes you evil. That makes you MAGA. That makes you a bad guy. And Joe Biden's going to tell you that owning a gun means you kill black people. I don't know how he makes that equivalence. I don't know how he draws that line. He's going to tell you. He's going to tell you on Monday that mass shootings, school shootings, homicides, well, that's because people own guns and kill black people. So if you own a gun, you're going to kill black people. So we have to get rid of the Second Amendment. You have to restrict the Second Amendment. That the Second Amendment should not be allowed for you, because if you own a gun, you will be compelled. You will go out and kill black people. That's what he's going to say. And it's stupid. It sounds stupid when I say it. I don't have a script writer who spends who I pay $250,000 a year to write my words for me. Mind you, I can write my own script. I'm actually a very good script writer for politics. And I don't cost $250,000. And I'm as good as they are. But I can tell you what he's going to say. I know what the script writer is going to say because I know how they write. We've seen it. I predicted it already. I knew what they were going to write about at Valley Forge more than a day ahead of time, and I was able to predict it perfectly. I can tell you what they're going to do about race. They're going to run around telling you, well, it's those guns. And if we could just get rid of those guns, then you're going to be safe, especially if you're black. And the inner cities, the people who need it the most, you need peace. You need to be protected. The government must protect you. So, no guns for you. Except he leaves out a couple of things there. I understand that's the logic he's going to go with, but let's think about this. For the last 60 years, Democrats have been promising that if they take away your guns, you will be safe. In the most recent 20 years, we have seen them say, oh, well, we're going to have the New York SAFE Act. If we limit the size of your magazine, if we restrict the type of guns that you have, if we change the cosmetics of the gun, so the stock is going to be different, the look of it is going to be different. If we change these things and we limit this, you're going to be safe. If we just take away your guns, red flag laws, if we just take away your property and your rights to property and to your family, which is what red flag laws do, then you're just going to be safe. You look at any policy that has been suggested from anywhere on the left, whether they passed or not, things like what was suggested by Sheila Jackson Lee, H.R. 127, which I've covered on this channel. We've covered many of these gun control policies. And what you will see every single time, lots of promise, zero impact, zero reality. You will never be safe. If a Democrat tells you they're going to take away your rights and you'll be better off, you will never be better off. You will never be safer. 60 years of gun control, and they have never made you safer. They have never protected you. Black on black crime isn't because people own guns. In fact, black on black crime is almost entirely because of gangs. And guess what? Gangs have illegal guns. So even if you pass yet another law about law-abiding citizens having a gun, the gangs aren't going to be affected. Black-on-black crime isn't affected. It never has been. And if you follow the numbers coming from the United States government itself, from the CDC, coming from every agency that covers this, the FBI, you will see it doesn't change because criminals don't care. They're not targeting the criminals. The criminals are their sales pitch. Because the criminals exist, you're afraid, and you're turning around to these politicians, these progressives, as they say, we'll protect you. We promise we'll protect you. We're just going to take away a little bit more of your freedom and your rights. We're just going to take away a little bit more of your life. Don't worry, but you'll be safe. This time, eventually, sooner or later, just stick with us until you eventually get to be safe. But you never are. That's why they don't go after the criminals. Because if they went after the criminals, there wouldn't be a problem anymore, and they wouldn't be able to take more of your rights. This is what you're going to see. And this is why you are going to see Joe Biden talking about racism, and you own a gun, so you're a racist, and that's MAGA. MAGA owns guns. If you own a gun, that's evil. MAGA owns guns. They're evil. And because evil people kill people who are black, MAGA is about killing black people. You think I'm making this up. You think this sounds like a joke. Actually listen to what Joe Biden says. Actually listen to what he says. Look at the data. They are only selling you a pipe dream. They have never been correct about this. This has never made you better. It has never reduced the black-on-black crime rate, which is 83% of all black homicides are because of black-on-black crime that they do not address. That gun control does not reduce. It's just that simple, folks. This is a trick to get you to vote Democrat. And the reason why they want to punish this channel, why they want to punish me, is because I'm asking you to actually think about the reality, the facts. Take away your emotion. I don't care if you actually believe that MAGA equals evil, evil equals guns, and guns equal shooting black people. If you actually believe that scenario, that's on you. You need help if you think that, but that's on you. You can believe that. If you want to feel that, that's okay. But here in the world of reality and facts, none of that is true, and none of that is a reason to vote. Not for a progressive, because they're wrapped up in trying to emotionally manipulate you. And that alone is a reason I believe you should vote for anyone else besides Joe Biden. But maybe that's just me. Maybe that's me. Yeah, I know. My puppy is, by the way, folks, I'm getting a message right now because Sister's yelling at me. You don't see it. I can see it. Sister's yelling at me right now because my puppy wants to go out early-ish. It's a little early for him, but he is playing on her, and you got to see this, guys. It's just like she's just cradling him like he's a baby. And he is sucking up on that. He is more effective than Joe Biden in convincing progressives to do something. I tell you, my puppy is fantastic. He can get anything he wants. He just goes to any girl and just looks at them with his little puppy dog eyes, and he gets everything. It's worse than Joe Biden going to a progressive and saying, oh, I'm going to make your life better. And they're like, oh, yeah, of course you are. And you never get anything better. I tell you, it's horrendous. Yes, Agent Black, they are dividing everyone by race, by color, by preferences, whether sexual or otherwise. They are divide. That's not what the United States are about. That's not what our history is about. But that's all progressives do. Divide. That's what the 2020 2024 election is about. Divide, divide, divide. That's what the news we are getting is about. Divide, divide, divide. And that's how they want you to vote. Divide, divide, divide. You have no rights. You will be denied everything. You are a victim, and you will always be a victim. Mike Bowie, my puppy is absolutely not a Democrat. My puppy, Khan, is smarter than the average Democrat, and that's why he's a conservative. His name is Genghis Khan. Gives you an idea of how far from progressivism my dog is. His name is Genghis Khan. And no, I don't mean like the movies. Anyway. Rhino puppy. Rhino puppy. Do not pick on my puppy, folks. Give me Con. Give me Con. You cannot pick on my dog. That's just not fair game. Come here. All right. Come here. See him? Do you see that? Do you see that face? Do you see that face? Here he is. This is Khan. Stand up, Khan. Stand up. He can stand. And he is going to talk to you and say, no, I do not agree. This is my puppy talking. Not a rhino. How dare you? Ah! Okay, yes, I can get silly too sometimes. I've been on too long. That's my dog. I love my dog. Okay, a couple people laughed. That's good. Yeah, I get silly sometimes. Anyway, what is life without a laugh here or there? You gotta have a joke sometimes. I love my dog. All right, I'm going to take him out now. I think I've covered this. I think I've made my case. But if you disagree, that's okay. Tell me in the comments afterwards. Share this with other people. Ask your friends what they think about this. By the way, and remind them, don't care about your feelings. I have my own. You have your own. I don't care about your feelings. I care about your reason. Do you think my conclusions are incorrect? Do you think the sources I am showing and can show even more of, are they incorrect? If the data that I have been showing year after year for decades now on gun crimes and the failure of gun control, if that's incorrect, please, I'd like to see the data on that. Don't tell me you're feeling. You feel like they're going to finally get it right because we're going to just spend more money and more time and eventually they'll get it right. I'm sorry, that's not an answer. That is not an answer. You want to talk about flash mobs? Flash mobs. Sorry, wrong word. All right. Yes, we can do that. We can do that, Mike Bowie. Just remind me. Folks, leave it in the comments. I will be back. We'll talk again soon. I appreciate and thank each and every one of you for taking the time you have taken to be with us today, to give the channel a try. I hope you appreciate what we do here, and we hope you will support us. Just like, share, subscribe. I can't ask for more than that. We're going to start 2021. I give you this promise and this guarantee. It's not a resolution. This is a fact. We have been doing this for, I've been doing political commentary for 20 years. I've been doing the live streams for half that time. And this is year 7, season 6, episode 1. I guarantee you we will get through the entire year. We're going to do this week after week. Every week we will be here with you, plus video and shorts throughout the week. Come check it out. Please give it a like, give it a share, subscribe. And until then, have a great weekend. Stay safe. The nor'easter, it's just cold and wet, but be safe anyway. Thank you, everyone.